Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom to the elect. I want to, of course, say birthday Hawa, birthday Hawa Shai, birthday Hawa, birthday Hawa Shai, birthday Hawa, birthday Hawa Shai, call Allah, Yallah, Yahweh, Bashem Al Shai, Bashem Al Kodesh, all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bashem Al Shai, Bashem Al Kodesh. And of course, giving double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who well, peace and salutations to the elect, starting with the first fruits, the prophets, the Naviayim, all right, that who have been bestowed this truth to preach to the rest of the remnant of the elect, of the 1/3, the believers whom are no prophets, but are Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, the Americans, and of course the Israelite foreigners, like unto the speckled bird, that look like other heathen nations where they've been scattered to. But lineage go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob by the way of their fathers. So you guys say Shalom. Shemai Mafins and Mappa from the Great Millstone Plaintables Camp in Philadelphia. Just coming with another live stream. Fair use warning. Crux, I don't own this footage. This is fair use only. You have it. Yeah, even the apostle just went live. He said the importance of prayer and diet. Yeah, very, very important about what your lifestyle is about. All right, so we're just going to go directly, of course, into this. So, as you can see on the screen, you have it says Chicago's next. Then will help New York. Trump is expanding his federal crime crackdown. U.S. News, but what's the way of him actually using, or what is the way of Donald Trump actually going about and as he said, going on a crime crackdown? He's using not only these various bureaucratic forces such as ICE, and DOS, or Department of Homeland Security, if I said that correctly, but also he's using the National Guard, okay, which, hey man, prophecies are continually to be fulfilled. When the apostles and elders of Great Millstone spoke about M-law, martial arts law, we'll just say like that, and being, of course, in the streets of Babylon the Great America, and they wasn't kidding, okay? And it's just going day by day, and very, 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 like, they're not going to just implement it in every single state at the same time. You have it there, going state by state, okay? But the trend is definitely there, where you can see, E, which is Esau, Edom, the wicked, all right, going with that sword, okay, with a great sword, okay, and he has that power, given on to him, and he's using it, all right, as we do know with the Roman Empire. You have it, they had a very, very, very strong military force, okay, and they used it, to conquer and subjugate all the rest of the different vassals about, barbarians as they would call them, and they conquered. And this new Rome is going about, and they have already conquered the whole world, and you have it, they sit, as the hammer of the earth, and they're showing that might, okay, for sure. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start real quick at Daniel's, either Daniel's 7th chapter in the spirit. This is Daniel chapter 7. I'm just going directly to the point. And it says here, Daniel 7:23, it says, thus he said, the fourth beast, which is the Roman Empire, shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth. Okay, and this is the fourth major kingdom, all right, and it's going to be the last Edomite heathen rulership on earth, All right, last heathen rulership on earth, because the kingdom to come is Jacob, and they will be coming, of course, Lai Ite, forever till ever. Okay, and because of course, it's going to be an everlasting kingdom. Okay, so let me see something real quick. We'll just keep going. It says, and so thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and tread it down, and break it in pieces. Okay? And so you go into it, the Roman Empire, went about conquering. Yes, they were conquering the Roman Empire, or, of course, as you going into, they were for their people. All right, they were for the Romans. Yes, you are correct. All right, he's definitely correct. All right, and as the scriptures that even said, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and the violent. All right, take it by force. The kingdom dealing with, of course, the kingdom of Israel. All right. This is Matthew chapter 11:11. This is a red letter. This is Yahweh Shai. The world ignorantly are knowingly call, of course, Jesus. But true name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, which means he deliverer. It says, verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there hath not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. Okay, and if, of course, until now, in the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, hey, you had, of course, the Edomites, all right, which were ruling as the what? The Romans, okay? They were the Romans, okay? In that rulership. You go into, that'd be, the Herodian dynasty, and then, you go into, all right? They even got it nice in there. The Herodian dynasty was royal dynasty of Idumean descent, ruling the Herodian kingdom of Judea, and later the Herodian tetrarchy as a vassal state. Okay? Right. Edomite rule. All right? Okay? Into the Hasmonean, the Herodian dynasty began with Herod the Great, all right, who assumed the throne of Judea, okay, and of course, ruled, okay, over, of course, where the Jews or the Israelites were, okay, being the northern, the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and remnants that was there, okay. It says, with Roman support, bringing down the century-old Hasmonean kingdom. Pardon me. All right. Now, let me keep going. Pardon me if I misspoke on it. Something Slakia. It says his kingdom lasted until the death of 4 BC. All right. And you can continue to go on. All right. And you, when you go even, further on, and like when Yahweh Shai was around, dealing with him, what is it? I'll just go and show you. Because we got to go and kind of show you a little bit of different things, because, people, say different things, on a comic board, but a lot of these different things are, you know, they're not dealing with really like the facts, and that's what we deal with here. We deal with facts and such. All right. So I'm thinking number 4 right now, but 1 second. Yeah, Tiberius, I think it's the 4th, if I'm not mistaken. Tiberius Julius Caesar Augustus. That's AD. Let me get this real quick. We'll be talking about the Rome virgins, the power. Just give me a moment real quick. Yeah, Tiberius, right? Julio Claudian dynasty and AD 14, you got 14 to 37, public ministry of Yahweh Shai, Day of Pentecost, Paul conversations. You got during the Julio Claudian again, during these times and such. Kingdom of Herod Agrippa the First. Okay, and you got, of course, when you keep going down, you got like the Flavian dynasty with Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. All right, and you could just check some of the information, if you want to check here and such. And they have done a lot of, as he say, raza or racist things to the Israelites. Okay, so I mean, nobody said, we're talking straight history right here. A lot of these people on the comment board are these bots. You got to come with historic facts, okay? Right. So, you have it with different legions and such. You had back with the Roman Empire having, various military force and might, having a strong iron, okay? Allow them to, conquer a lot of the different enemies and such because of that superior, metal and such too, okay? But, you'll get real quick. Beheaded by Herod Antipas, right? Okay. In Bible, Matthew 24:14. All right, we're going to get this real quick. Matthew 14. And it says here, at that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the fame of Yahweh Shai, all right, which was a Judah, right? Judite, right? And said unto his servants, this is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. Okay, you could go, of course, into the history, of course, with that and such. Okay. For John said unto him, it is not lawful for thee to have her, adultery. Okay? And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughters of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod, whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John the Baptist's head in a charger. And the king was sorry, nevertheless, for the oath's sake, or the promise, and them which sat with him at meat, he commanded it, and given it be given to her. And he sent and beheld John in the prison. Okay, so what is this? This would be definitely considered, as he called it, racism or violence being done towards the Israelites, and this is being done by the Romans, which are Edomites. All right, again, you can't run away from that fact. Okay. Herodian, Idumean descent ruling, Judea, go into it, the Herodian Tetrarchy as a vassal state. And, you can just go into it and you can, trace, the whole lineage and everything with Antipater, all right? Which was an Edomite. The Idumean, a Roman official, all right? Founder of the Herodian dynasty, the father of Herod the Great. All right, you can go into the Jewish, encyclopedia and check out the information as well. Okay, father of Herod the first. You could go into this history and such. Okay, about Antipater. All right, the Idumean. All right. But yeah, man, nobody's bringing out any facts. So, hey, we can only come with facts here. All right, of Edomite rulership. Okay. We have it. Okay. So let's just continue forward. So back to Daniel, the 7th chapter, it says about the fourth kingdom, right? The fourth beast was diverse from all others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, break in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. Okay? Very, very, very strong, of course. And they're still around. Because remember, you have it with the iron with the miry clay. Okay? Which is, going on tonight, right now with the EU. NATO. Okay? So, you got it. The Edomites ruling heavy. Okay? And, they're coming with, that power. Okay? And they're doing it. All right? So this is Revelation chapter 13 and 3. And it says, and I saw one of the heads as it were wounded to death. Right? That Roman Empire beast, right? Wounded, right? Right? That beast was wounded, right? And his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. All right? And you had it that deadly wound, was healed and came back during the time of the Renaissance. Okay? And you have the Edomites, like with the Borgia family, and of course, took over. And, you have it. They know why they call us the first crime family and such. What is the track record of the Edomites? You have destruction, all right, and all sorts of Hellenization, and universalism, okay, and killing. I gave you with Herod, the Idumean, and you still have these Idumeans that right now that, of course, led Jake into slavery, okay. You know, those Grecians and such, where you read like Joel, the 3rd chapter, is dealing with the Edomites, okay? It says, yeah, okay, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? If you render me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head, right? Because ye have taken my silver and my gold and carried into your temple my goodly and pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem, both kingdoms, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Americans, okay, ye have sold unto the Grecians, all right, the Edomites, okay. You have like the transatlantic slave trade, all right, with the Arabs and of course the Ishmaelites, all right, the Arabs to the Ishmaelites and the Hamites, have came and got with the Edomites and done business and trade. And he's talking about racism and stuff. Well, you have that right there in the scriptures. All right, the Edomite history. All right, who are the Greeks? All right, you know, yeah. So going on, it says we talking about the Edomite Greeks, okay, not the Hellenized Israelites, okay, you know. But the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem ye have sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. Okay? Your history is already here. Okay? So you have a lot to pay for. Because again, when you go to Revelation 13 and 2, it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet, all right, was as the feet of a bear. All right, and you have it with, the beginning and the end. All right, the beginning with, you have these Edomites with Alexander the Great, all right, or the Great, okay, and then you have, of course, the end with, of course, Russia, all right, it's the end of extremity of something, a part of something, okay, that's your end, okay, and we're at the end of the rulership of the Edomites, okay. It say, as the scriptures say, for this is the book of 2nd Esdras, let me get this real quick. It says 2nd Esdras chapter 6 and 9. For you can read it. This is starting at verse 7. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. Jacob, of course, which is Israel, which birthed the 12 tribes, right? And progenitor for the 12 tribes of Israel. He held for the heel of Esau. Esau today wasted away is he. All right, Esau, that's what it means. Esau is Edom. And Idumean is just a Greek way of saying Edom, Esau, right? Okay. For in that Jacob holding it is, of course, he's gonna pull him out of rulership, through Yahweh Shai, okay, of course, and the Lord have his saints, which shall take the kingdom. The saints are the Israelites, again, For Esau is the end of the world, the end of the age of his rulership. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Okay? You know, so we at the end because Esau is ruling. Okay, and this guy, he can't, whomever is this, was trying to play games on this thing, which, you know, don't got the truth. You know, he got, man, yeah, these is that's how you know this is all run by like bots and stuff. Cause look at what it say on there. You know, he got on there. He's saying about P Diddy and saying Nigger and all that. Yeah, but who are? You know, you gotta say. You know, you have people that you know are you know, they say riches are not commonly for a niggard. All right. So like, you know, them little, like, as the scripture say, you wrestle not against flesh. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places. You roughly paraphrasing. You know, you got left-handed energy on, of course, the you know, with the common words and stuff like that. You know, but again, we got the facts right here. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning that followed. So we know that the next rulership is a rulership for Jacob, Israel. All right, and with Yahweh Shai ruling that. Okay, and how, of course, we know that because when you go to Daniel's, I believe it's back, it's either in Daniel 7 again, right? It says, about that rock. I gotta find it. It's either Daniel 7 or I think Daniel 2. I gotta find it. It's been a while since I gotta go back on it. All right. But this divided kingdom. All right. So all right, this is Daniel chapter 2 and 40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. All right? With the Roman Empire. Ancient. And wherein thou sawest the feet and the toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, right? And you have that with, of course, the European Union and such. Okay, this Edomite rulership is divided. Okay, what does divide go back to? You look up, of course, divide. You got the Hebrew word palag, which goes into just being straight up divided. Okay, it has schism. All right, it's split. Okay, you got even different contrary parties, just like have you had the plebeians and the patricians as well in ancient Rome. Okay, and you have it, that same system is of today. Okay, because we have the image, all right, of course, of the beast, okay, which is framed after the ancient Roman Empire. Okay. And that's in Revelation. Let me just finish this off first. It says, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Okay, and you have it. You know, you go into, you know, with the European Union and such, you know, with that economics and such, man, you go into the weaker nations, the stronger nations, where Germany, was strong, you know, Great Britain, you know, and France and such. And then you got the weaker other European nations, okay? You want to pigs economics, which, you know, we ain't gonna go too much into it. You know, different EU nations being very weak and having, of course, the brunt of it being, of course, supported by the stronger ones, but that can't stand. Economically, you seeing the fallout of what happens when you have all these different refugees and migrants, and you know, the money not being coming in, the money being weak in the base, just like in ancient Rome. Okay, and the same going on today. You know, with this you know, this fiat currency and such. All right. So when you keep going on, you know, the scriptures it talks about um, in verse 44. I'm gonna skip to 44. These days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. All right, and that's the kingdom of Jacob, Israel under Yahushai, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, right, to the heathen, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever, right? Because as it goes into that stone, which is that rock, which is Yahushai, Daniel chapter 2 and 45, for as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it break in pieces the iron, you go just refer back to, you know, the statue that Daniel seen in the vision, which represent the major kingdoms and such, you know, with the you know, you got the you know, the Babylonian, you got the Medio Persian, you know, the kingdom of the Greeks and the Romans and such, man. You know, the 10 toes, you know, with the of course with Rome and NATO, the EU, yo, through. It's all gonna get destroyed by Yahushai. Okay? The iron, the brass, and the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great power hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpreter thereof is true, or is sure. All right. Now, as I said, true, you could look, it says a man. All right, so be true. All right, it's trustworthy. All right. So you know this is going to happen. Okay. The interpretation is certain. Yad to Zayab. All right. True, reliable. From Yad to Zab, which means to make stand. All right. To know of truth. Yad to Zab. Okay. To set or stand. Or station oneself. So this is concrete. All right. So, you know, that's just that. And like I said, people, it can't go over these facts because they don't want the crimes which these Edomites, you know, have. And they're continuing to do and rule by the sword. Okay? Because as we know, and I quoted some things, this Revelation chapter 13, and it said that in verse 4, and they worship the dragon, Roman Empire, which gave power unto the beast, okay, with NATO and such, right? And worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, and who is able to make war with him, all right? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, all right? With these Edomite rulers, they speak of so much different various pseudoscience and, you know, just false truths, you know. It's just amazing, okay? Trust the science, and even though there's, you know, knowledge that has been since antiquity passed down orally or written down, with their, of course, knowledge, they contest and tell you, of course, what is deemed true by their what? Dominance, their influence, their hegemon, okay, their system, their medicine, okay? The scriptures talk about them being physicians of no value. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. All right. And he opened his mouth and blasphemy against the power. All right. How about Shemel Shai to blaspheme his name? How about Shemel Shai in his tabernacle? All right. And them that dwell in heaven. So he came against the Israelites. All right. The angels. Everything that is, of course, is a mock or true. All right. He came with all these different slanders. Just like you have it right now to this day. You got this person on there put Kiki. I don't know what the hell that is. You know? But they come with slanders, you know, against the Hebrew Israelites. Okay? And they're angry at the prophets. It says, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints. Okay? So this dragon, you know, this beast that rule, of course, very, you know, savagely, you know, tyrannical. And they would, of course, it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. All right? And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose name are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. It says that if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth his captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and faith of the saints. And we go into, you know, the Edomite rulership, the Hellenization, you know, the Greco-Roman Empire, the destruction, you know, 70 A.D., you know, you have it with, you know, starting with the Punic War, Jewish Punic Wars and all of that. You know, you had destruction done, you know, beyond, you know, hey, you go into that Flavian dynasty and such, you know, with, of course, when you go into it, ending off with Domitian, you know, you have, you know, with Titus and, what is it, his father Vespasian, okay? A lot of destruction was done to the Israelites, okay? You know, they say something about at least 1 million Jews fled into the, you know, the western interiors of Africa, but, you know, they went all different places. You know, and Yahushua even spoke about it, you know, in Luke, the 22nd chapter, you know. He warned, you know, about, you know, what is to come. Okay, and that's thankful because, you know, we have it. We know what's to come, and that you have, as what we believe, some of the same rulers have come back in a regeneration and to, you know, do their destruction. Okay, as they are the sword. The Edomites are the sword. They come and beareth not in vain. Okay, the thief cometh not but to steal, to kill, and destroy. Roughly paraphrasing. All right. This is Luke chapter 21 and 20. All right. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee into the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter there into it. Okay? And like I said, you go into the history. Okay? You have, of course, Yahushua died, and, you know, you have it going forward with, as you have it, various revolts, but you have it with the Edomites just coming in and destroying. All right, Yasharallah. Okay, so when people they talk about a lot of the things that's been done, they don't want to talk about what the Edomites have done. Okay, what are their track record? Vespasian, as you can see, if you can see, it goes on. It says, right, so you got it. You can even start. You can go a little bit above, but I'm gonna go there. With Vespasian, flavor Jerusalem besieged and destroyed by Titus, right? The flavor, right? April, August, right, of 70 AD, right? Masada falls, right? AD 73 or 74, all right? And you got a lot of destruction, okay? Check it out for yourselves. Now, you got some, like before that, such as Nero, okay? Which, AD, 54 to 68, who did such a instance and persecution of the Christians in Rome, right? And, you had, of course, like I say, destruction that was done with Nero and blamed on, of course, the Israelites, okay? So, you could just go into your history and you'll see the destruction of these Edomites, okay? And what they are capable of and what they do with their rulership. And Trump is, as he have, if he's called a commander-in-chief, that's an emperor, all right? So as we believe in the spirit, you're a great millstone, that Trump is Nero, Caesar, back to the regeneration, okay? Because he has demonized the migrants. He say that they're nothing but, basically criminals, and wage war on them, build walls. He's doing beyond that now with the military deployed to, these cities. And that's all, the red sword. Esau Edom using that great sword.
It's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this. And it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come.
Because, see, so he, with that democracy, which he using it via the so-called Republican Party, they'll tell you that the people are screaming for help, okay? And that's part of, that wine, that strong wine, that been pushed, that have made Babylon, drunken, okay? As Jeremiah, it tells you, okay? Jeremiah talk about how, Babylon has made the whole earth drunken. Babylon 51:7, Babylon, which is America, has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nation have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad, okay? And they're mad, all right, acting madly off of this democracy, all right? Because a lot of individuals have ate up the fact about democracy works via which party they choose to believe in, whether it's Democrat or Republican, whether they're conservatives or liberals. Okay, a lot of people have bought into the Make America Great Again narrative. But, all of this just go back to Edomite rulership with the patricians, those, of course, of noble birth, and, of, landowners and such, rich, not the common folks, okay? As they call themselves the nobles, okay? But the true nobles are the Israelites, but you have it starting with the elect, you have it that this philosophy has penetrated and people have ate it up, and people literally have been deceived. So this is the book of Revelation 13 and 14, and deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, all right? Beast being NATO, all right, which is spearheaded all Edomite rulership, all right? The beast is comprised of Edomite rule, okay? 7 governments, the 7 heads, right? When you go into it, it says which had wound by the sword and did live, right? And then you got the 10 horns, the European Union, and that's all of Edomite. The 7 heads go into, of course, the Germania Major, Germania Minor, the French, the British, the Spanish. You have the Greeks and the Romans, okay? Collectively, of course, the 7 heads. And then you got the 10 horns and such, the common markets, okay? The vassals, all right? Which today is the EU, okay? With the Treaty of Rome came back, okay? The European Union or the Edomite rulership, with the ancient Roman Empire came back with the Treaty of Rome, okay, too. So, these different facts you cannot get around, all right? We know the history. It says, Revelation 13 and 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, all right, which is this Roman system, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that all as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, all right? And you gonna see, with this belief, these philosophies, they're really gonna come with that MOTB, which is, soon after. Okay, you have it, the force of making troops go out into the street, which that's biblical prophecy. But then you're going to have it where people have to go to these different detention centers, to receive, assistance and help. But they're going to have to partake in that worship, that reverence of the beast, okay? Which is spearhead ruled by Esau, Edom, okay? In this new Roman Empire. Remember, as it says in Revelation 13 and 12, it says, I'll start at 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, which is America, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, okay, with the 2 parties, you even have it with the part, hey, man, I'm going to do great. I'm going to bring all this good aid to America. We're going to take back our shores. We're going to take back our borders. We're going to, get our country in order. All these criminals are going to ship them out. A lot of people like hearing that. We're gonna get back the economy to be booming. We're going to get the numbers. Hey, we're doing good. We're adding so many jobs. But then when you end up seeing, he's coming with this draconian law. That Draco, which, very hard, harsh and severe rule. He has it using the National Guard, military, and that's just right now, okay? Listen, go ahead.
Wearing red hats. So, and the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats. So, I really am honored that
he's saying they wearing red hats, being, believing in him, believing in Trump, believing in Edomite rulership. Also, it's not fun. Not a coincidence the dude got red and hat, and that's their number. That's their color, red. Just like how you see he is red, not white as the shirt, but he is of course red. All right, and that's a fact, Jack. All right, shalom to those that are on the comment board that are, of course, following along. All right, the Edomites are red, okay? That descend to Esau, Edom, okay? These people, right, that are up in these offices, that don't have the spirit of an Israelite, that's because they're Edomites, okay? You see all this red, you go to look at the Marines, you go back to like you said, with Rome, red dragon, okay? Draco, military standard. The Draco was a military standard of Roman cavalry carried by, here, if you can see, slide. You see here, you got it right here. The Draco, the serpent, okay? And they're coming heavy, all right? So, I'll keep going. It says carried by, like who was the serpent? Like we know with the Edomites and such. Draco was the standard of the cohort as an eagle. Aquila was that of the legion, all right? The Draco may have been introduced to the Roman army after the Dracian wars by the Shean. Okay? So, you have a lot. Let me see what else was here. Do some reading, some more destruction for Edomites such as the mission. But again, Chicago's next.
The National Guard has done such an incredible job working with the police, and we haven't had to bring in the regular military, which we're willing to do. We have to. And
you heard what he said. He's willing to bring in the regular military. So, hey, this dude speaking as a dragon, man. With that savage rule, man. So, you can't not say that Esau Edom is not Shaitan, not the enemy, and that he don't have a great sword.
Bring in the regular military, which we're willing to do. We have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And
all those so-called, if you look into it, probably a Democrat ruler, so-called leader. He's gonna come with that divide, but as a kingdom that's divided, it cannot stand.
We'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this, and it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one, but they're wearing red hats. African American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying, "Please, President Trump, come to Chicago." Please. I did great with the black vote, as you know, and they want something to happen. So I think Chicago.
You hear it, man. So he got Keisha. Trump got Keisha. As of course the serpent had back in the garden. Had Eve. So ain't nothing new under the sun, man. So today, the serpent, he still has deceived Eve. Okay, it's this Genesis chapter 3:1. Remember, this is a man that's very sly and cunning, you know, who uses divination. All right, witchcraft. It says that now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. The beasts would be the other nations. Okay, and themselves are beasts, right? Which Yahweh power had made. All right, and he said unto the woman, yeah, hath power said, or the Elohim said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim or power said, all right, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die, you know, or taken to these different philosophies of the other heathen. All right, the trees, right? And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. That was a lie. All right. For Elohim doth know that in the day that ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil, which that's the truth. All right, if they were perfect, only knowing good at that time, Adam and Eve. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. All right, and you have it where you partake, you know, with Eve, you know, into that philosophy, and through her we all die. All right, she listened to the serpent, which is a dark-skinned man, which is the same spirit of the Edomites of today. All right, because that serpent, okay, is a nachash, all right, which is, when you go into it, one who practice divination, all right. That's it. That's what these, of course, when you go into it, you know, these different various leaders, they're into Freemasonry. They're in all these secret society. They illuminated ones as they go into knowing what's going on in the dark while everybody else is ignorant. All right. So, you know, he's praising having the black vote, so-called, you know, and a lot of, you know, Jake has chosen their enemy to rule over them and to destroy them, okay? And that's okay, because 2/3 will be cut off here and die in Babylon the Great, all right? So Habakkuk chapter 2, it tells you, yeah, also because he transgresses by mine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desires. Hell, he wants all of you, Jake, okay? If he could have it, he would have the elect. But that remnant is, of course, set aside for Yahweh Shai. Nobody can get to them. All right? And is as death and cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. All right? And all part of all them people is the Israelites, chiefly. Okay? Now you go on. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and 15. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, all right, that putteth thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look upon their nakedness. Look at their sin, okay? You know, them being uncovered, okay? Being in sin, being completely exposed, okay? You have Jake that are you know, in sin, and he have given the philosophies to the Jake to eat up democracy, to vote for Edomite rulers over them, participate in the system, go to their Senate office, you know, go to House of Reps, go to City Council, and, you know, believe for them to be their help, and they don't help, seek their hope in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. So now you have it, the military going to these different places, all right, these major cities in America to spoil Jake, because it's mainly Jake that's out there in the streets, you know, shooting and looting and destroying and run around in gangs, all right, or if they're homeless and lost their mind, you know, they out in the street homeless, and he have it. We're gonna clean up America. So he says he's right about everything. That's another, you know, great things speaking it that's in his mouth. All right. So these Edomites, as they said, the possessor hold themselves not guilty. So, you know, we seeing everything that's going on, man. So, hey, be on the look for the military in your city near you.
Will be our next, and then we'll help with New York, and we're going to help with. And I think a lot of these people that you see on television, they are, including the people in this audience, they'll say bad things about me, and then they'll say, "Thank God he's here," because half of them got mugged, and they don't want to get mugged again. But they work for they work for stupid people that are radical left, and they're made to do things and say things that they don't want to be saying. But the people right here are all happy because you're not going to be mugged in Washington, D.C. anymore.
Because they got the force out there, all right? And they bear not the sword in vain. So that's the lesson to the spirit. We see how Esau, Edom is running and moving. And I could get a precept in Psalms, maybe like the 5th chapter. And it says in verse 9, it says, "For there is no faithfulness in their mouth. Their inward part is very wickedness. Their throat is as an open sepulchre. They flatter with their tongue." Okay? That's what these Edomites are doing. All right? With this democracy. All right? They flatter chalak. All right? They divide. Okay? They assign and distribute with their tongue. They scattering all the people and dividing the people with these philosophies. Okay? Crazy. So, shalom to the elect. Remember, there's no faithfulness in their mouth. All right? You can't, expect to be established and be directed aright in a more moral sense with the Edomites, because they are moralists. They're violent in the earth, as the scripture is going to. So, hope you're edified. Shalom to the elect. The live stream will be going on private, so, shalom to those that have been edified by the lesson. Shalom to the elect. Stay up, keep watching, stay praying, and hopeful you are elect. Shalom.